Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like get some moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this chokehold. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
What is good, everybody? It's WeTooDeep, and we're back with another episode of the Slapping Me Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 186. It's crazy, man. We're almost at 200 episodes. If you're new here, let me introduce myself. I'm WeTooDeep. This is the Friday episode, the second episode I do every week. It's sort of we do 2 episodes a week. One on Tuesday. It's me and DJ Wavy D. That's sort of we talk wrestling, but it's a little bit more laid back. We don't really go deep into reviewing everything. Whereas this episode is more so like the Friday episode, the second one where I call my solo episodes. This is sort of for me to sort of rant, whereas Tuesday is where we have like the discussion, right? And so with that, let's go into it. Some housekeeping before we get into the wrestling talk. As always, there's some links in the description. If you're watching on YouTube, it's in the description of the video. If you're watching or listening, rather on a podcast network like Spotify or Apple Music, I appreciate you. A few things I need you guys to do there. First off, those links to the Discord in the description if you want to join the conversation around the Junkyard Media Group, which is me, Wavy D, and then Beyond the Junkyard is the second show that we run there. That is my brother Junkyard James and my friend K Dog. But that Discord link in the description. There's a link through the WWE shop we are an affiliate of. You can buy your merch through there. Unfortunately, there's no discount, but what it does do is it does support me and Wavy D as we run this show, potentially to make it bigger. And this is just a little bit of support. So go buy your merchandise through that link there. The link to Beyond the Junkyard also in the description. If you are listening on podcast networks, please do me and Wavy D a big favor. Leave us a review. Leave us a thumbs up, a 5-star review. You know, if you enjoy the show, let us know. And if you don't enjoy it, pick a star rating that you like. If you think it's a 3-star, give us a 3-star. If you think it's a 1-star, all that feedback definitely helps. If you're also on podcast network, so that you can get the alerts when the new episodes are posted, hit the follow or subscribe button depending on the network. The terminology is different, and turn on your notifications. You will get alerted every single time an episode is posted. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, leave us a comment. All of this, what it does, for those who do not know why I'm asking for it every week, why every podcast that you ever watch that is trying to grow their audience, why they ask for it. If you watch YouTube, they ask for likes. Why do we do these things? Well, it's the way the algorithms work. You guys leaving a comment puts us in the algorithm. You guys subscribing and liking, but really the comments on YouTube are the most important to get us in the algorithm to be seen by other by more people, and that's ultimately the goal, is to grow the fan base of the show and to grow the community, and hopefully get everyone in that Discord where we can talk about the show and about wrestling. And so with that, let's get the housekeeping over with. Again, just reviews, like, share, subscribe, follow, share with all your friends who like wrestling. But let's actually get to talking about wrestling. So there's one piece of news that I saw in between Tuesday and today as I'm recording, that I want to talk about, and that is I saw something where Roxanne Perez and CM Punk are working on trying to get AJ Lee back into a WWE ring. Y'all, if this were to happen, like there's dream matches that I don't think we've gotten from AJ Lee. Like I think AJ Lee left what in 2014, I believe, 2015. And so there's some people over the last decade that so she retired April 3rd, 2015. So there's some people that sort of debuted around that time. Have we gotten AJ versus Charlotte? That's a dream match. Have we gotten AJ versus Becky? That's a dream match. AJ versus Bayley? That's a dream match. But then some of the younger people, Roxanne being one of them, Cora Jade in some way, shape, or form, it would be a pretty good match, I believe. And so AJ Lee, if you could come back, I would happily take it. Right. I think she has a really good play. I think there could be a really good role for her and Punk. Once this Punk feud with McIntyre and then the feud with Rollins is done, I think Punk could somehow transition and should transition at least backstage to some sort of mentor trainer role in NXT. He could still be on Raw and SmackDown or one of the shows, right? I think Netflix would probably want him on Raw because of the name that he gives, right? But I think at least backstage he should become, and then AJ could also be that mentor figure to the women on NXT. And so getting one final run, like a year-long run from AJ Lee, would be muy guapo. Very good. Very good. And I'd be here for it. There's matches there that I don't think we really got to see the end of with AJ. Like there's two different generations now. Sort of like the new, we sort of got like the women's evolution or women's revolution generation, your Baileys, your Charlottes, your Beckys. And now you got this new generation coming up behind of just amazing athletes. I can even think someone like Rhea, someone like Bianca against AJ Lee would be really, really cool. Even if AJ came back and sort of was some sort of like manager or like mouthpiece. She's a really good mouthpiece. And so I'm telling you, if we could get Punk or if we can get Punk and Roxanne to convince AJ Lee, I've always said that Punk should start a faction with like newer, younger talent, and a faction that was him, AJ Lee, someone like Roxanne, maybe like a Cora Jade, find two other men that can go in, someone like a Josh Briggs. I think something like this could happen and it could really benefit the NXT, so some of the NXT roster. But so let me know, what do you guys think? Do you want AJ Lee back? I'm sure the answer is yes. What type of matches are you looking for if AJ Lee were to come back? Is it NXT? Is it main roster? How do you want this to work out? Is it both? I think she could work a schedule out where she does like a few matches on NXT, works the main roster as well. So what are some of your dream matches if we can get AJ Lee back in a WWE ring? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the Discord. All right, let's move forward. Speaking of NXT, let me go ahead and talk about this week's episode of NXT. Fantastic. Another good episode as we're getting ready. We're setting up stories for the next 2 weeks, which is the Great American Bash 2-week special. This show just continually amazes me with how good Shawn Michaels is at he gets this talent, and he just inserts so much talent on the roster in a 2-hour period of time, right? 2 months ago, hell, a month ago, Ashante the Adonis and Cedric Alexander were doing literally nothing. They come down, what, 2 weeks ago, a week ago? Like, it's been less than a month that they've been in NXT, and Shawn Michaels has them in a situation where they're really good characters. Cedric's in the trick feud, like, in anytime you're around Trick Williams in NXT right now, he is the top guy in NXT, right? And so when you're in that, he's in the title picture, he wants the title back, right? In this title picture, you can have like you have Ethan Page, and you have like 4 guys chasing right now, right? But Cedric's not chasing the title, he's chasing Trick. So this is like a side story for Trick, because Trick's main goal is what? Getting the title back. But on the other side, you have Ora Mensa chasing Ethan Page, and this looks like this is about to be a match for the title. And Ora Mensa, like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, before he joined Metaphor, this dude, I would laugh anytime he was on the TV. But Shawn Michaels has put. But you know what else? You know who else that's the truth for? The rest of Metaphor. Anytime I saw Noam Dar before Metaphor, anytime I saw Lash Legend, my eyes would roll to the back of my head, like, get her off of my screen. Right? Anytime Jakara Jackson was on, she was taking L's and being squashed. And Shawn Michaels has put together a faction in Metaphor that is very palatable, very easy to watch. It's very easy to understand what's going on here in NXT. The stories aren't, there's a little bit of nuance to them, but there's not enough nuance to where, like, I need to know, like, the meta narrative behind everything. And so it's just a very easy watch. Whereas if you compare it, like, Raw is good, but at times, the story becomes so, there's so much going on in a story that if I just tune in on a random week, or I miss a week, I feel like I'm missing an entire plot line of the story. WWE does a good job on trying to fill you in, but Raw right now, 3 hours is definitely needed, but it feels like they're putting too much. Like, I feel like, I said this on Tuesday, I feel like, and I actually agree when I get this statement from Notorious Nerdy D from the Casual Wrestling podcast. His idea that there's probably about an hour each week that could probably be cut from SmackDown, or from Raw. There's about an hour each week that we could probably remove from Raw right now. And for me, that's the Zoe Stark. They're calling them the Wavy D, and I guess he said Mia Yim coined the phrase the stud line. They don't need 2 segments. Cut one of them. The Bronson Reed, they had him do an entrance. They had Pete Dunne do an entrance only for Sheamus to come and attack before the match even begins, right? And so you could probably have cut that. There's probably about an hour of Raw every week you could probably cut out, and instead of just cutting it out and say make Raw 2 hours, put in, instead of having 18 stories, AAA, and we need these stories, but you have Drew and Punk, you have everything going on in the Judgment Day, and with Rhea and Liv, you have the Wyatt Six and the Gable story, like, you have a whole bunch of shit going on, but only about 2 hours of the program is really easy to watch, right? Whereas NXT is very, like, SmackDown's not even all that easy to watch, because it's really just the bloodline, and that's all you really built there. And so there's not a lot going on there. And so at times it can get a little boring. But NXT, there's still that action while you still have enough of a storyline to keep you intrigued, right? And there's so much going on around the world title picture right now, where you have, Ethan Page, you have Aura, you have Trick, right? And so it's those three guys battling essentially. But I don't even know if Aura wants the title. He just wants Ethan Page and what does he want Ethan Page for? Hurting Noam Dar, right? So I don't even think he wants the title. In reality, the title picture is Trick Williams and Ethan Page. And around those two superstars, you have Aura, who doesn't like Ethan Page because he hurt Noam Dar. You have Cedric, who tried to help Trick, but Trick didn't really want it. Trick sort of got disrespectful with Cedric. So now Cedric's upset with Trick. And so Trick has that. And then Pete Dunne's attacking Trick Williams for whatever reason. And hopefully we can figure that out. And so the title match is going to be Trick and Ethan Page. And we'll probably get that at I believe No Mercy is before Halloween Havoc. So at No Mercy, September 1st, which if you guys don't know, that is the same weekend as Bash at Berlin. So we're getting a treat that weekend. We're going to get Bash at Berlin on the 30th of August. That's a Saturday. Or is it the 31st? I think it's the 30th. Yeah, it's the 31st. The 31st of August is Bash at Berlin. And then Sunday, September 1st is going to be No Mercy live from the Ball Center in Denver, Colorado. And then they're going to be at that arena again on Monday, the 2nd. Like we got a weekend of shows that week in just about a month. It's going to be great, right? But that match is going to be, from where I'm looking at right now, it's going to be Trick. It's going to be Ethan. Maybe Cedric's involved. Maybe Aura's involved. There's always and we'll talk about this a little bit later when we talk about Slammiversary. There's always the Joe Hendry situation that we have building on here in NXT. Is he going to be involved in this feud going into No Mercy? So, that's some of the questions, but really the title picture isn't wide open. It's really just two people, and those two people have enemies. And so they're side quests, right? Though I would love Aura Mensa to get an opportunity at this title because he's really improved over the last. I was looking him up. Apparently, he was one of tagged. Let me learn to talk. He's a former UK tag team champion, NXT UK tag team champion. Did not know that. Found that out about him. So I think he's really good. He's really good. I like Aura Mensa. I really do. And this Noam being off screen and Aura sort of being the focal point, right? But then you got Jakara and you got Lash Legend, who I really could give two cares about a year ago. But they just beat Sol Ruka and Carmen Petrovic. So I like the result. My issue that I have here is that Carmen Petrovic, they don't really have a lot for her to do. Right? They don't really have a lot for her to do, and so they're just putting her in random matches with random tag team partners that she only has the partnership for like a week. And this is sort of why I don't like the women's tag division, because there's no actual developed tag team. Next week or one of the 2 weeks of Bash at the Beach, though, the Unholy Union's coming back down to NXT to fight Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend for those titles. And part of me hopes Metaphor gets these titles. And that they decide, hey, let's keep these titles in NXT. There's a lot of women down here. We can get a lot of tag team action down here. And we can keep these titles off the main roster. for now. And because I do believe if you had like the women's tag division on NXT, I think it would benefit a lot better down there because there's only 4 teams on the main roster. I don't know. They're not gonna completely just put it on NXT because that would mean you would have to, Caden Carter and Katana Chance and all of them would have to come back down as well. And so, Unholy Union's probably going to win in some way, shape, or form. But I kind of hope Metaphor picks up the titles. Yeah, but NXT normal, really good show, really good main event crossover there with the Rascalz. You had Devon Evans in a very good match. I don't think Oba was on the screen, which was kind of unique weird to me. Oba's typically on the screen. I love Oba, so it's kind of weird not to have him on. He's one of my favorites in NXT right now. Gallus is my favorite tag team in NXT right now, and yeah, they're good. They're ready for the main roster. They've been ready. There's nothing I can critique about NXT right now. It's just cooking, right? It's on fire. I say this and I really mean it. I do believe NXT is the best 2-hour wrestling show. And when I say that, it's the best 2 hours of wrestling you can watch. And that, so like I said, Raw has about 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half of wrestling that's watchable, that's palatable. NXT is the best 2 hours that you can spend watching wrestling throughout the week, in my opinion. NXT is that's where I go if I need to watch wrestling. If there's one show that I have to watch, it's NXT. And then the final thing with that, just as a sort of reminder, if you are an NXT fan, tickets for No Mercy as well as Halloween Havoc are on sale as of today. I haven't seen the ticket prices yet. I haven't gone in there. I'm sure by this point they're probably sold out, and the resale tickets have gone on the website and tripled the price. But No Mercy is definitely not something I'm going to. I'm not traveling out to Denver for No Mercy, but there is a partial consideration. I am considering going up to Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's not that far from me, probably 10 hours by car, up to Hershey, PA, to watch Halloween Havoc. There's a possibility. I'm going to give it a thought. If anybody wants to go and to No Mercy in that area, if you're in the area, you want to go to Halloween Havoc, shoot me a message. Maybe we all could chip in and get seats next to each other. We can have the whole slap and meet community in one area taking over the show. But that just as a reminder that is on sale, as well as if do what I do. I check Ticketmaster all the time for 2 reasons. One, to see where shows are happening, and 2, I tend to like to take a look at where potential pay-per-views could be before they announce them. And so that is that. Let's go into sort of the main event of this podcast episode, and that is TNA ran Slammiversary 6 days ago. Last Saturday, TNA ran Slammiversary. Now, I don't know how many people here watched it. Now, here's what I like. Here's what I like about TNA. Their price says, hey, it's $39.99 on their website when you go to buy it, right? It's $39.99. Yeah. And then you go to check out and you're expecting it to be like $44 or something because of taxes. Now, that $39.99 includes the taxes. They've worked out a way to where, including taxes, it's $39.99, and that's the price they market, is the after tax price. I like that. I like that a lot. Now I will say this, TNA. I wish if I subscribe to TNA Plus and I pay the $9.99 a month like I do, I should be able to get the pay-per-views. You do like 4 big pay-per-views a year, and those aren't included in the $9.99 that I pay per month. Though your your Friday special shows that you run every quarter or two, I think you run like one every 2 or 3 months outside of the pay-per-views. Those are included, which are fine. But something like a Slammiversary, a Bound for Glory, I think Resurgence is one, Hard to Kill is one. I think you run like 4 or 5, 6 pay-per-views per year. Those should be included as well. That's one critique I have. They're included in the TNA Plus like premium plan, but that's like $200 a year, and you don't have a monthly payment plan for that I've seen. And so, like, paying $215 at one time for a year of I hardly can justify the $7.99 or the $9.99 or whatever it is for what I already pay for, because I don't really watch TNA all that much. I like watching the bigger shows. I check in on some of the highlights. It's a good deal if I were to use it, but it's one of those things where, like, I have to be in a mood to want to watch it. Right. And so that's just a suggestion. And what I'm hoping is this crossover. I'm hoping at some point TNA Plus becomes part of, WWE allows them to be part of the Peacock deal. One, that's a bigger audience for TNA. And two, even if they raise the price to be like, hey, if you want this, at $14 a month or whatever to get 2 companies' libraries and shows, I'd pay that. That's justifiable, right? But let's go ahead and go through, and it's not going to be a deep dive, like in depth, like Dave Meltzer type review show. But remember the slapping meat rating system that we instituted on Tuesday. 1 is awful, 2 is decent, 3 is average or good, 4 is great, 5 is perfect. So we start off with Matt Hardy versus John Dango Curtis, or JDC. For those who don't know who that is, that's Fandango. From if you were a WWE guy. So here's what I like about this show. In traditional booking, how we traditionally are taught about wrestling and how you book a show is like you always start with the match that's going to get the crowd the most excited, the most hype. You set the bar high. And for me, that's why I thought Mike Bailey versus Mustafa Ali was going to start the show, because that was going to be the sort of high flyer match. But they start out with Hardy and JDC. And I really, really like that they did it this way. If you look at the way these things went and the order of how the show went, it went from like, it sort of progressed in terms of like importance. So like a lot of wrestling shows, they don't, you may have like the IC title start, and then you have the women's tag, and then you have a random match that doesn't mean anything because it's not for a title. It's maybe like a grudge match on a PLE, or right. And the importance, then you have like one of the heavyweight championships here. You end the show with Cody Rhodes and the Universal title, and you have things all swapped all over the place in levels of importance, right? TNA said, we're going to put the least important matches first. And I like that. So Hardy and JDC, not that they're not important matches, not that they weren't good. This was a decent match. I'm going to go ahead and give this a 3. It was a decent match. What I'm trying to say is they sort of fed us like this was a 3-course dinner. And this was appetizer. This was to get the fan base watching and say, you get the food on the tongue, and the tongue sends the message to the brain that food is coming, and then the rest of the body starts getting exciting, and it's just the appetizer, and and it's just to warm you up for what is to come, right? So that then comes in with the next match, the System versus ABC for the Tag Team Championship. Very good match. I'm gonna not memorable. It's not. It wasn't. It's not a 4 yet. I'm gonna give this a 3 as well. I'm gonna give this a 3 as well. Very enjoyable. Not memorable. I do like that ABC picked up the win. I do. I really like that ABC did pick up the win here. I do believe. I want to make sure I'm giving the right information out because I don't want to have to correct myself. So let me make sure that I'm remembering this event the way. Sometimes I'll be forgetting things or misremembering things. Yeah, ABC did win. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. ABC did win. They are now the NXT Tag Team Champions. I did forget that there were matches on the pre-show. I didn't watch the pre-show. I completely forgot there was a pre-show. And it was the 4 matches that I really didn't care about, or 3 that was announced. They added one. Santana came out at the very end. They gave us like a 5-minute match between Eric Young and Hammerstone. Which was good just to get Hammerstone back in. I think he's been hurt, so he's back now in the scene. But let's go back to the main card. Again, ABC versus the System, really good match. I really enjoyed it, but again, it's just you're still sort of in this appetizer realm, right? You're still in this sort of appetizer realm, right? And that appetizer realm ends with the third match, which is Mike Santana versus Jake something, which again, decent match. I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give it a 2. I wasn't. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't something that I think really was needed. Right? It was good, but it wasn't. It was a decent match. It had a story. It had a purpose to it, but it wasn't something that I'm going to sit back and be like, yeah, you got to watch this match. Right. So now we get into with this segment, this match right here. So if I'm continuing this analogy of like the food analogy that I was using, if you go to like a steakhouse, right, they bring you, so if they bring you the appetizer that you order, that comes first, right? Then you order your meal, right? And if you order like a salad, like a lot of people that go to a steakhouse, they'll get a steak with like one side, and like for me, I get the side salad, especially if I'm going to Texas Roadhouse, because Texas Roadhouse side salad is banging. It's banging. And I know you look at me and be like, you don't be looking like you be eating a lot of salad, but I love me a good side salad at a steakhouse, right? And so that salad course, it's part of the meal. It's the side. It comes first. It's refreshing, and it's just that promissory note that something very good is coming, right? And that's what this is the one match thing for this salad course, right? It's the Rascalz versus No Quarter Catch Crew, right? Refreshing, very good. I'm giving this a 4. It wasn't like the greatest match ever, but this was really fun to watch. It was a really good match, really great match. To watch, to continue the NXT TNA transfer of talent. I really like that. Right. So now you get into the entree. Right? You get into like the main course. And for me, that's the next 2 matches. It's the meat and gristle. It's the hardiness. So PCO versus AJ Francis, and you're sitting here thinking that's not entree. This was a really good match. It was a street fight. It was good. PCO gets the win, which I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of, because I like AJ Francis and PCO's like 74 years old. This motherfucker's still doing like swantons off the top rope and shit. PCO, I need you to retire. but this whole thing was, not every bite in the entree is going to be like the best bite ever, but it's still fulfilling. It's still right. This was a 3. This was a 3, right? The next match, Jordynne Grace versus Ash by Elegance for the TNA Knockouts Championship. This was done better than I thought it would be. This is a 4. This is a 4 to me. Jordynne Grace has that ability to put on really good matches. But also, I got to sit here and say this. Ash by Elegance isn't, like, she's gotten better over the last year and a half, right? With when she was Dana Brooke, sending her down to NXT, she was on her shit. Like, she was a top NXT superstar in that roster. She was going down to get that Mandy Rose treatment, and it worked. And then she got released for whatever reason, and then she went to TNA, and now she's at the top of that game. Like, I could realistically believe that she is a TNA world champion, a knockouts champion. I could honestly see her become knockouts world champion in the future. Very good match. But you have to end your meal with what? With the dessert. Right? And what's the dessert for? The dessert is the best part of the meal. Right? It's the part that you just got done with your appetizer, your salad. You just had your entree here. If you had your steak or your burger or whatever it was, and now you're full. But they're like, hey, we got some like chocolate cake here. This is the best thing you ever seen, and it's just gonna be that last little bit. It's the sweetness that ends what you're craving, right? I don't know about you, but when I go to a steakhouse and I eat all that, a steak, a salad, my side of choice is fries because I'm a basic white bitch. No, I'm kidding. But I eat all that sort of like salty, like rich food. I want something sweet to end the night, right? And so that's what the dessert is. It's that sweet. It ends the meal. It sends you home happy, and that's what the last 2 matches were to me, right? In this analogy, right? And that's Mike Bailey versus Mustafa Ali, right? This match was fantastic in the match portion of itself, but then they got like extra with it, right? They got extra with it. And Mustafa Ali knocks out the ref, and he's calling for another ref, and these motherfuckers bring back fucking done lost his name. But the referee from the Montreal screw job, Earl Hebner. There it is, Earl Hebner. This motherfucker brought out Earl Hebner as to do his bidding, to screw over another Montreal native in Montreal. Bro, the callback to this, when I saw Earl Hebner walk out of that damn curtain, I popped like louder than I've ever popped. And I was like, oh my God, it's Earl. This is good right here. This is great. This is a 4. This match in and of itself, everything around it was a 4, right? You had Earl come in and you think, oh man, he's gonna screw Mike Bailey, and Earl couldn't do it again. And he loudly told Mustafa, I ain't doing this shit. And then he tried to beat Mike Bailey with Earl Hebner in the ring in the sharpshooter. Bro, this type of callback, right? You need to know a little bit of the meta history behind it, but this type of callback for us who have been watching wrestling and who know a little bit about the business, this type of callback is great. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. And that Montreal crowd definitely understood it. Right? And so Earl Hebner does, he atones for the sins of the past. Right? Mike Bailey wins, becomes the X Division champion in Montreal with Earl Hebner as the referee, atoning for his sins. And somewhere, there's no way you could critique this segment, but somewhere in the darkest parts of the internet, bitter Bret Hart is sitting here shitting on this segment. I'm certain of it. I don't even know. I don't pay attention to a lot of the old heads. I watch Cornette every now and then. I listen to Cornette every now and then. But more of that is just to hear him shit on the segments of wrestling that I don't like, to sort of reinforce my hatred for it. Somewhere Bret Hart's bitching about this. Somewhere in the deepest, darkest parts of the internet, there's a Bret Hart shitting on this segment. This was fantastic, dude. I loved it, right? And then we end it with our main event, right? And just when things couldn't get any sweeter, we have this 6-man match, this eliminator match, right? Which just I just gotta say, this type of match, I love this type of match. You know, WWE's gone away from they've sort of turned to like the gauntlet matches, or they're one-on-one matches, and you just gotta, right? I want a standard like eliminator match like this. I don't remember the last time we've had one in WWE that I can remember, right? And man, this was great. It was a match that for a little bit was hard to follow. If you looked away, you may have missed some stuff. Steve Macklin gets eliminated first, which was kind of expected. He was sort of like the least likely to retain the championship. But let me tell you something. When Moose, who came in as champion, gets eliminated second by Joe Hendry, I need y'all to understand, that's important. Joe Hendry was the one who pinned the champion. And quite right after, Joe Hendry, in surprise of, I think, everyone watching the damn match, gets eliminated by Josh Alexander, who immediately becomes heel number 1, right? Everyone thought this was Joe Hendry's moment. We're going to talk about this in a minute. Josh Alexander then eliminates Joe Hendry. He then, about 6 minutes later, gets eliminated by Nick Nemeth. And at this point is when I looked up from my phone, because I was in my phone watching, taking a look at X, seeing what people were saying about Joe Hendry getting eliminated. It was at this point when I looked up and saw Nemeth eliminate Josh Alexander. I was like, who the fuck else is left in this match? I completely forgot about Frankie Kazarian. So Frankie comes rolling back in this ring, and they have about a 2-minute one-on-one little match here. And I thought Frankie was about to win this shit, and he doesn't. Nick Nemeth becomes your TNA World Champion. And let me tell you something. I came in fully expecting Joe Hendry to win this match. But this right here, this result, the best result that could have come out of this. The type of, Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler, top 10 favorite wrestler, maybe top 5 of my favorite wrestler of all time. You got Orton and Triple H sort of tied at 1 and 2, right? So those sort of flip-flop depending on the attitude I'm in. Most of the time is Triple H. So Triple H, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns would be at 3. I would have to put Ziggler at 4, Nemeth at 4. Like those are my top 4 favorite wrestlers that I've physically watched of all time. Right? To the point, I don't know if you could see it. That pink, if you're watching the YouTube video, there's a pink little blob right there on the desk behind me. that you can't really see, up close. That's my signed Dolph Ziggler shirt when I went to go see him at the Comedy Zone for his comedy tour. I took my Dolph Ziggler shirt. He signed it. I haven't worn it since. I put it in a frame, and it's framed. Like this dude is one of my favorites of all time. And he didn't get the level of respect he deserved in his WWE run, and TNA made him world champion. Now, let's discuss Joe Hendry. So, like I mentioned, there's an important thing that happened here. He pinned the world champion. At the time that Moose was in the match, he was world champion. He pinned him. That said something. He was the one that that officially beat Moose. But secondly, it's all about timing. It's all about timing. Slammiversary is the second biggest show, the second biggest moment of the year for TNA. Bound for Glory in October is better. It's a bigger moment. It's their WrestleMania. As someone who has gone to a Bound for Glory, if you do have TNA Plus, watch Bound for Glory 2015 live from Concord, North Carolina. During every entrance, you will see a goofy-ass looking kid in a yellow shirt. I was probably like 18 at the time. I just graduated high school. This arena that this event took in was the same arena I walked across the stage and graduated in. Right? I walked what would be the locker room, like the backstage area at a wrestling show. I've walked those hallways. But TNA, if you have TNA Plus, TNA Bound for Glory 2015, you'll see me in a yellow Drew Galloway shirt on every single entrance. That was a great night. What was I about to say? Oh, yeah. I was Bound for Glory is the bigger night. And that's where I believe Joe Hendry becomes TNA world champion. Bound for Glory this year. I don't think they've announced the date for Bound for Glory. But my assumptions could probably be somewhere international. That's a possibility. There's some rumors there, right? New York City is rumored. Las Vegas is rumored. But I don't think they've announced it. My point being is that's the bigger event. That's the bigger story. Joe Hendry versus Nick Nemeth, I think, is the bigger. But you also have to recognize that Joe Hendry is very. If you've watched NXT there's deep plans to use him, and there's a possibility that Joe Hendry becomes NXT champion. Let me just put it this way. Would you rather be TNA world champion or NXT champion? NXT is like a step up from TNA. There's a bigger push. There's a bigger plan for Joe Hendry right now. Now, can you imagine Joe Hendry walking out of No Mercy on September 1st as NXT champion and walking into Bound for Glory? They typically hold it the first or second week of October. Walking into Bound for Glory as NXT World Champion, where you could have Ethan Page try to get his rematch at Bound for Glory. He gets his rematch. He gets a match on a TNA pay-per-view for the NXT Championship, where Joe Hendry also has a feud against two in TNA right now. Josh Alexander, what does this form? the North. Guys, there's a bigger story at play here. So yes, Joe Hendry didn't win at the first opportunity he could get to win, but they have a bigger plan here. There's a bigger plan here. And if this means that we can get the North to come back together with Josh Alexander and Ethan Page, guys, I'm all fucking for it. Joe Hendry as my NXT champion, I'm all for it. We gotta slow it down a little bit. The internet's so quick to, you're right, and it's the same thing that sort of that people have been preaching to me about this White Six thing, like being patient. I'm fine being patient, and let me just sort of correct that statement for a minute. Like, I'm patient. I'll be patient. I'll let it play out. Right. I think that gimmick's a little bit different. We can talk about that a little bit differently. My opinions on that have changed a little bit. I'm kind of, like I said on Tuesday, inching closer to enjoying the gimmick. I'm not quite there yet, but maybe soon. But a little bit of patience with Joe Hendry here, because in a month, this motherfucker could be walking out of Denver, Colorado, the Ball Center, the biggest event he's been in probably in his whole career at NXT No Mercy. He could be walking out of that as NXT champion. He's coming in next week at Great American Bash, and he's doing one of his little live concert things that he does on TNA, which were fantastic, and I can't wait for that to see what that is, because his TNA ones are funny, and I kind of want to know how much leeway USA and NXT are going to give him to, because, you know, he says some wild shit on TNA. But we got to be a little bit patient here with Joe Hendry. His time is still here, right? This also brings up the conversation, does having a title mean anything? Like for example, Jey Uso probably will never win a singles title. Does he need it? No, he's the most over thing on the roster. How do I know that? Merch sales, crowd reaction. Bro's 14, 15 years into his career. He's had one of the most successful tag team careers of all time. I don't think he cares about a singles title. He's probably here to collect a check, because you know that paycheck's healthy, right? Collect the check, sell merchandise, sell tickets, get people in the arena. He's playing his role, right? We gotta, you know, we had the same reaction with LA Knight when he lost to Roman and he wasn't pushed into the main title picture. Yo, slow it down. There's bigger things at work here, right? Joe Hendry's got bigger plans than the TNA World Champion. This also gives Nick Nemeth a reason to still be in TNA, and builds a feud between Nick and what was that was the ultimate story, because Nick came in to attack the system, attack Moose. So now I haven't watched TNA from yesterday, but Mustafa Ali stepped up against Nick Nemeth from what I saw on the internet. So there's stories here, and Joe Hendry, he's in the bigger storyline, and that is in NXT. So we got to be a little bit patient here, right? So let me know what y'all think about Slammiversary. Overall, I'm gonna give it a round of 3. It was a really, really, really good pay-per-view. Definitely worth, I believe, $39.99. I believe it was worth that price. I do. But with that, let's go to our react to it. I don't have a video or anything, but if y'all go to the Casual Wrestling show from Tuesday, Notorious Nerdy D had asked Milwaukee Mike a question. And it was a question that when I listened to it, I think I listened to the show yesterday, a little bit behind. But this question really got me thinking. So I do want to give my opinion on this question. And that question is Liv Morgan now at a position where she can be considered a superstar? And my immediate answer when I heard the question was yes. I do believe Liv Morgan is at superstar level. She has progressed herself and moved herself and positioned herself, and the booking has positioned her in a position where she is a believable champion. She's a believable heel champion. That's important, right? Because I've seen a lot of people critique Liv Morgan for like any time, like Rhea's come back, and every time Rhea's trying to, get around Liv sort of cowers. Yeah, she's a cowardly heel. This is like standard storytelling. She's all big and loud when the person she's talking about isn't in the room, but when they're in the room, she knows she's at a disadvantage. She knows she's at a disadvantage. So she runs. This is typical heel stuff. This is that cowardly heel. Right? Which is why she didn't come down to the ring to have her promo on Monday. She was in the crowd. Right? That's she's the cowardly heel. She's a superstar. This run is 1,000 times better than her last run. It doesn't need matches to be memorable. There's just moments that will be memorable. I think she's selling merch. She has a fan base that's insane already online, and now the casual fans are starting to come in and accept that Liv Morgan is over in this gimmick. She's gathering a lot of TV time, putting eyes on the television. I think she's a superstar. So I do want to throw that question out to you all. Do you believe Liv Morgan is a superstar? And then the last question that I want to, on the same thing that I came up with, that I want to ask the audience as well. Y'all like to ask me questions and I like answer them, but I'm going to ask you guys one back and then give my opinion on it. Excuse me. And that is the question of is Dominic Mysterio world championship material? I asked this in the Discord. I believe I asked it in the Discord. If not, I'll put it up there. But do you believe that Dominic Mysterio can be a world champion one day? And I believe he is. I believe Dominic Mysterio is that level of heel. Like it would not surprise me if somehow Damian beats Gunther at SummerSlam. That Dominic, if it goes the way we think it will, and betrays Rhea, betraying Rhea is essentially betraying Damian. And I could see Dominic fully going after Damian. And what I see happening is Liv Morgan completely takes over the Judgment Day. I told you, when Triple H does factions, he's going to do them like how they do them in New Japan. They don't just disintegrate factions when they want the story to end. They kick out old members and bring in new ones. And it's a transition between the factions, right? Bullet Club has had like 6 leaders in its existence, right? And when one leader either leaves the company, so for example, when Kenny Omega left, when Cody left as well, when AJ Styles left, when Finn Balor left, in New Japan, they got attacked. Their last show, they got attacked and kicked out of the faction, right? You don't necessarily have to do all of that here, right? But when Dom betrays Rhea, Liv comes in, and the rest of the Judgment Day, between JD and Finn and Carlito, they come in as well. And Liv becomes the new leader. She becomes the new Rhea Ripley. I've thought that this was the story the whole time. And so what then happens? Well, Judgment Day has the tag titles. Liv has the women's championship. And Dominic, in betrayal of Damian, then gets a match for the world championship where he can then have a run. And now Judgment Day has all the titles again. And we recycle this with new characters. Right? I think Dominic Mysterio, in the cowardly heel that he's in right now, makes a good world champion. Now, by himself, without a group behind him to sort of help him cheat to win, I don't think Dominic is realistic in the worlds of Damian Priest, Gunther, and Drew McIntyre, right? So he would have to have like the team behind him to help him secure all the wins, like his North American Championship run. Right. And that's but that's what I believe happens. Spoiler alert for Tuesday, right? I do believe that happens. So that's a question I want to throw out to you guys as well, and I would love your feedback on that. But with that, thank you all for listening. My name's WeTooDeep. This has been another episode of the Slapping Me Wrestling Podcast. Tune in next Tuesday, as we make our SummerSlam predictions. Next week is SummerSlam week. We're going to make our SummerSlam predictions on Tuesday. Me, Wavy D, and we are hoping that there's no issues like there was last time we tried to get this man on our show. The current plan is for Steel Chair Twan from that's his TikTok username, that he will be there as well. He will be there to help us do our SummerSlam predictions. Can't wait to welcome him on the show and to hear what he has to say and what his predictions are. But that's going to be the show on next Tuesdays. Just, maybe we'll cover a little bit of Raw and stuff as we do our predictions. But with that, I can't wait for next Tuesday. Y'all tune in. Then everything will be posted in the Discord page. Again, that link is in the description. Like, share, subscribe, send it to all your wrestling fans. Blow this thing up, y'all. That way, Slapping Me Wrestling Podcast can continue to grow in audience and build a community. Again, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all on Tuesday.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this jaw cord. But it's no hope.